everyone, welcome to Pour Painting with Ron. I hope you've been well since the last time I saw you. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing another one of my spun out rainbow bloom pours. If you've seen them before, they're really bright and they've got really interesting lacing effects happening on them. But today I thought I'd just change a couple of things around a little bit just to see what happens, see if I can improve the overall result. But anyway, I won't go through the recipe in huge detail today, but I will put a link at the end of this video to one of my earlier ones where I go through everything in much more detail if you're new to this technique. But anyway, there's three parts to this recipe. First of all, you need the pillow paint, and I'm just using an interior acrylic house paint. I'm using British paints, low sheen interior house paint. Any white house paint should do, really. And then for my pouring medium that I mix with my colours, I use a house paint again, this time an untinted wall paint. This one says extra bright, but you can use deep base as well. Untinted wall paint, and I mix that 2 parts of wall paint to, no it isn't, what do I mix it with? 3 parts of the wall paint to 2 parts of gloss varnish. So this is just the Jo Sonja's polyurethane gloss varnish. So 3 parts of the untinted paint to 2 parts of the varnish. And I mix that 2 parts of my pouring medium to 1 part paint. Now the paint that I'm using today is Jo Sonja's. Any sort of high pigmented paint will do. You spread it pretty far, so get a good quality paint. I'm using today lots of bright colours, ultramarine blue and some cadmium orange. This one's almost empty. Naphthol crimson, aqua, some brilliant violet, and some yellow light. So I'm using those all together. Should get some interesting colours happening in this rainbow pour. So as I said, 1 part of the paint to 2 parts of the pouring medium. And then the cell activator on the top, I'm using a mix of Amsterdam titanium white to Floetrol. Now this is where I'm changing it a little bit. In the past I've made it really thin. I've used 1 part of the paint to 3 parts Floetrol. Today I'm halving the Floetrol, so 1 part paint to 1.5 parts Floetrol to give me a thicker mix. The cells of the lacing I'm hoping will hold together a little bit better than the thinner mix does, but we'll soon find out anyway. All right. But as I said, I go through this in much more detail in one of my earlier videos that I'll put a link to at the end of this one. All right, let's get started. All right, here's the canvas I'm using today. I'm using a 45 centimetre by 45 centimetre thick edge canvas. I've made sure it's nice and tight. And just like I always do, I've prepared the back by putting on some painter's tape and some giant push pins to keep it off the surface of the table. And I've made sure that it is level. I've got a level table and I have, let me see, where is it? I've got one of these handy little leveler things. So you just put it on the edge there and the bubbles in the middle. And I go around quickly, make sure the bubble's in the middle, and make sure the paint then doesn't run off while it's drying. So it does need to be level. Now, when I've done these before, this is another way I'm changing it today. I've poured on some pillow paint first and spread it out over the entire canvas, and then poured more paint on the top and done my painting. I've used a lot of paint that way, so I thought I'd give it a go today, just putting the pillow on and not spreading it out at all. See if that works any better. All right, so I'll pour on the paint. You do need a good amount because you're stretching it out over your whole canvas, carrying the paint with it. You can see it's quite a volume. Probably no more if you do than when you do a flip cup pour. Okay, let's see how that goes. I'll just give it a bit of a torch to get rid of some of the air bubbles. No matter how carefully you mix it, you're always going to have air bubbles in there. Is that enough? I might just put a little bit more. Now you don't want too much left on the canvas either, because it may crack when it dries if your paint is too thick. All right, now the colour, I'll start off, I've put it in these little squeeze bottles. It keeps for ages and ages, and you can mix up a lot of paint all at once and use it for several paintings before you have to mix it again. So I'll start off with the dark colours and finish off with the lighter ones. Now I sort of do a square, but the corners are further away, so I put like little points on my square. Make sure I sort of in the middle. So like little ears. And I sort of drizzle in the middle. All right. Now, the purple. It doesn't look as though you're going to get anything, does it? But it does work, believe me. Purple, and then I might do the aqua. The nice aqua colour. I'll do the red. I'm just wondering if I should put some magenta in there too. Perhaps. I'll do the orange. And some yellow. There's a fly buzzing around. I'm in the garage. Some yellow. Will I do some magenta? That could be nice. I'll just give it a bit of a shake. I won't put too much on. Okay. Good. That's that. Now, I do need to put the cell activator over the top. So as I said, I'm using white. So this is a thicker mix than I usually do. So I've got my fingers crossed to see if it works. And I'm going to use this wall scraper. I'll pour a little bit on the wall scraper, and then I'll use my, whatever you call this thing, spatula thingy, to swipe over my paint. A palette knife, that's what it's called. So I'll pour a bit on. And then I dab it in there. Make sure you get good coverage. Now you sort of like push the paint a bit of an angle, push the paint out. So you do want to take the colour with you. I think we've got the lacing happening already. So push the colour. You don't want to push all the way through your pillow, but you do want to blend the colours a bit. I'll just start here. A bit worried about the corners. But I won't have enough pillow paint for the corners, so I'll just put a bit more on my corners here. Maybe just a bit paranoid, but I don't want to get into issues later. I'll just put a bit in the corners. Like so. Okay, bit messy. Okay, here we go again. You do want to clean the colour off after you've done every swipe. This one. almost there. Not too worried about the ends because they'll get spun off the canvas. Now I hope I have enough paint on there, but we will find out soon enough. Might just do a little bit more here. And bit there. Now I hope I have enough paint. I've used less than I usually do. Now I will wreck it a little bit just to create a little bit of interest. I like putting swirly lines through it. So I'll do some S-shaped lines. Like spider legs. Create something for the eye to look at. Right. Now I like to let it sit just for a little while before I spin it out to give the lacing time to develop. So while it's doing that, I'll just wash up some of my tools before the paint dries on them, and then I'll be back. So this is my spinning pool. It's just an ultra cheap children's wading pool. You can use a dog swimming pool as well, they're really cheap. I've upturned a bucket just to keep everything off the surface, and then I've put my spinner on underneath. So I've got my, this is just a spinner I bought from the art shop, but cake spinners or Lazy Susans will work. And I've just taped a board on the top to make the surface a bit bigger. If you're using a smaller canvas, you don't need to do that, but my canvases are a bit bigger, so I find this useful. And some double-sided tape just to stop the canvas from flying off when I'm spinning it around. All right, so I'll get my canvas and we'll see what happens. So here we go. Don't mind my interesting foot there. Now I need to make sure it's sort of in the middle, so I'll keep my eye on the center point. Oh yeah, that was pretty close. Okay, I'll give it a spin. Just a gentle one. Make sure it's all good. Okay, cool. But it's moving to the corners. Paint flying everywhere. That's why you have the pool. Don't do it on your art table because you'll just get paint everywhere. Now you keep spinning until you're happy with how it looks. I don't want to leave too much paint on my canvas. Looking nice. I've got to the corners. Hopefully it's going down the sides as well. Let's see how the sides are going. Yes, they're covered. Awesome. How's that looking? Oh, that's really pretty. I might do another one just to get rid of a bit more paint off my canvas. That might do it, I think. Cool. Even the board looks pretty. Well, I think the lacing held together really well. It didn't break apart or anything. And I was certainly able to cover my canvas. Now, I hope I haven't left too much paint on the canvas, particularly in the middle. If you do, it may crack when it dries. So that's a bit of a risk that you take. But I don't want to spin any more, otherwise I'll just lose too much of my lovely patterns. But I think that's looking really lovely. Now, I'll just let it drip for a bit, and then I'll put it back on the table and I'll bring you in for a bit of a closer look. Okay, hopefully you can see that. I'm holding the camera above my head. Just bringing you down. You can see we've got some really lovely lacing and color combinations happening there. You can see why I call it a rainbow pour painting. We've certainly got all the colors of the rainbow happening in this one. So, what did you think? I think it turned out really well. I'm really happy with the result of this one. The thicker cell activator, well, that worked just as well as the thinner one. And putting the pillow paint on without first coating the canvas, well, that worked just as well as the other way too. So I'll keep doing that, I think, in the future. I have gone around the bottom edges with a palette knife to scrape off the drips. Don't forget to do that. Looks untidy when it dries with drips underneath, and the drips can pull the paint off the surface of your canvas as well. Now, I did go through the recipe really quickly at the beginning. If you haven't done this technique before and you'd like a more detailed look at how to do this one, mixing your paints and so forth, I'll put a link to appropriate video at the end of this one that shows it to you in more detail. As always, feel free to comment. Ask questions. I do read all the comments and questions, so feel free to do that. And if you have a go at this technique, share what you've done. I'm always interested to see how yours turn out. Now, as usual, if you like what you saw today, please take a moment to press the like button. Helps my content get found on YouTube. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, please take a moment to subscribe. So I hope you have a good week ahead and happy painting!